develop proficiency and assist in their passion for the game they love. Today's episode is episode 67. We are discussing baseball, hitting, and also one thing we don't really talk about, youth baseball. My guest today is the hitting specialist, John Lampros, which he attended Frenzo Pacific University. He also played there between 2008 to 2010. Later, he had a coaching opportunity at Liberty High, and I hope I pronounced this right, Clovis North High School. He also is a member of the American Baseball Coaching Association as well. He's a coach, and he also helped produce 11 conference players. That's pretty good. And also one JUCO conference MVP. And also he has done many, many more things to help some MLB players, minor league players, and much, much more. Can I bring on the very on? His name is very on. I got to give it a little intro. The very own John Lampros. How you doing,
Thanks
John?
for having me.
It's good, man. I tried to get you a little drum, but my drums wasn't coming in
Hey,
fast
no
enough.
worries.
I'm like, come on, I need it. Hit it. It's not coming in. I can't get it in. I mean, I'm pushing all the buttons and it's just not working right now, but it's okay, man. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. I know we're in different time zone, but let's get right to it. I know this is not a question I normally ask first, but I'm going to ask you this question. John, you're in California and you've been working with youth. What is the desire to work with youth?
You know, like my coaching passion started young. I actually started doing lessons at 16 years old. My mom was a single parent.
Okay.
The team I was playing for at the time, I like kind of had to do lessons to work off playing for the team. So that's kind of where I got my start, and it's always just been something that I've had a passion for.
Wow.
I didn't really want to be a teacher. Like I didn't want to go sit in a
School.
classroom for 6 hours a day,
Yeah.
but I definitely wanted to give back to the youth and be able to give them a positive kind of male role model figure that I didn't necessarily. I mean, I did have. That's where my coaches came in when I was younger,
Right.
as being kind of the positive role model figure, and so I wanted to kind of be able to give back to the kids in our community and help them kind of navigate, especially baseball is so much different even than when I was growing up. I graduated high school in 2007, and it like baseball is so much different now than it was then. And trying to help people navigate that and make informed decisions and help
Right.
grow young men that are like going to be good people
Right.
and good baseball players.
Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting because I've had 60 plus episodes, and you're the very first one, John. I'm gonna call you Coach John. Coach John, you have only want to talk about youth. Everyone else has other different lanes, and you caught my attention. You know, a 2-5 baseball. I know I'm jumping around, but I'm really excited to know what is 2-5 baseball. What does that mean?
So the name comes from that was the number that I wore when I played,
Oh, okay.
and I was a huge Giants fan, huge Barry Bonds fan.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and,
I gotta give you some rah rah. Hey, John, I gotta cut you, man, because listen, I have listen. You just got me tongue tied. You just got me all excited. I'm sorry, brother. Listen, I have been talking about this for 60 plus episodes. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm so excited because I'm not talking about Barry Bonds all the time, like all the
mhm.
time. And you were the very first one that I've interviewed in over 60 episodes that talked about Barry Bonds. I just can't believe it because I'm like, I tell Barry Bonds, well, I'm not a Barry Bonds fan. I said, okay, you don't have to be, but I had to give you some kudos, brother, because I'm like, I talk about I call him Mr. 25, Mr. 25. So, but anyway, I'm sorry, John. I just had to give you your props on that. I'm sorry. Go
Hey,
ahead,
no,
brother.
like we actually have kind of a family connection to the Bonds family, so he's always been he was my favorite player growing up, and I was ride or die for Barry Bonds. My grandpa and his mom actually worked together in a cigar shop in the Bay Area when he came back in 1993,
Wow.
and it was cool. I found her on Twitter probably 5 6 years ago. My grandpa since passed away. But I reached out to her. I was like, "Hey, like, do you remember my grandpa?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, hey, how's he doing?" So that was kind of cool that we have like a little unique connection to the family, and that was always just the number that I wore. And then we started out doing travel teams back in 2015,
Hmm.
And I needed a name to come up with real quick, so we just called it 2-5 Baseball, and that's kind of where
What it
it built
is.
from there.
I like it.
On the training side, I started out with one kid in 2012, kind of after I had finished school or finished college and everything. I decided I wanted to start training guys,
Right.
like kind of as a paid. We called it a paid hobby first. Um,
That's it.
the first guy I got was off of a Craigslist ad. Shout out to Craigslist. People don't even use that anymore. But
Right. Right.
the first guy was off of a Craigslist ad, and I had him from seventh grade all the way through. He played Division I baseball.
Wow.
That was my first guy, and we kind of built off of that. And it's just kind of like the name always kind of stuck for a while there, which we'll get into later on.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
dubbed I've been kind of dubbed the launch angle guy in my neighborhood. So the
That's good, man.
I used to tell people that I named my program after the optimum launch angle for hitting home runs, just to rile them up. But no,
That's
we've grown
cool.
out from basically that one guy to I spent 4 years renting one cage in a facility that primarily serviced teams,
Hmm.
and then in October of 23, I opened my own facility here in Clovis,
Good, man.
5,000 square feet, 4 cages, and we run pretty much group training from 8 years old all the way up to we had four pro guys this off season.
Wow.
We've had as many as seven in past off seasons. So we kind of try to cater to everybody and be the spot to hit
I had to give you that drum roll. I had to. I was like, you come a long way, brother. I mean, congratulations, man. I'm just happy to hear this. I mean, I'm just I'm just out of words. I don't know what to say. I mean, because you start from Craigslist, and people don't know what Craigslist is. You look it up. Just Google it. Google it. I don't have to get into that, but I'm just saying it's like you start from the very beginning. Like, man, you was in seventh grade, and you were
seventh grade.
training people.
Yep.
Wow. So God must have called you to be a coach. He must have called you to be a coach because seventh grade.
No, the
Wow.
player was in seventh grade.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I
I'm
was in
sorry.
college.
I'm
Player was
sorry.
in
My
seventh
bad.
grade.
My bad. I apologize.
No
My,
worries.
my bad. But anyway, that's pretty good accomplishment, man. I just want to say congrats. I mean, starting off the way you start off. I mean, normally I start talking about your high school, which I'm gonna jump into that now. I'm like, wow. I just had to ask what was the 2-5 baseball because I was like, and I looked you up. I was like, 2-5 baseball. I gotta ask this question.
Yeah,
What on
for
earth
sure.
is 2-5 baseball?
100%.
And you don't say anything about that on your website or on your social media channel. But I'm like, okay, okay. Now I'm gonna be referring everything 2-5 baseball.
Yeah.
2-5 baseball. I like it, man. But thanks, man. I appreciate that. I mean, I appreciate what you said. I appreciate what you're doing. Congrats. Continue to keep doing work for it for this generation, and also impact and empower some of these young guys. Also, let's talk about your high school. I know you didn't talk about that, but we're going to talk about it for your high school because you went to high school in California, if I'm not mistaken. Is that
Yep.
correct?
Hmm.
What was that like back in, you said 2007, when you were in high school? Because they didn't have this perfect game, or they didn't have all this travel ball like they do
Yeah.
now. What was that like for you? That transition to make that move from Fresno Pacific University.
For me, like again, having not a lot of resources, that was still like that was like the very beginning of like the perfect game situation. Like area code was kind of doing its
Yes.
thing. I wasn't really good enough for any of that stuff. I just kind of like, and it kind of segued into how I train guys now.
Okay.
Is I always had this dream that I wanted to play professional baseball, and I had no idea how hard you had to work to get there.
Okay.
I had a lot of extracurriculars. I was in 4-H FFA. I showed animals all summer. Like, so I didn't really like when I was in baseball season, I was hardcore, and then like I had all these other extracurriculars I was doing. That kind of like looking back on it now, like I could have still done all those things, but definitely been a lot more focused on kind of what it actually takes to get to the level that I want to get to. Basically all I had in terms of college like recruiting was like the colleges would send letters to the high school coach, and the high school coach would put my name down, and we'd kind of
Right.
go from there.
Right.
I did a lot of like my own stuff, like reaching out to college coaches,
Mhm.
And it really got down to the point where like, and I'm a big advocate of junior college baseball. For me, junior college baseball would have 100% been the avenue that I should have taken. I kind of had, like, I wouldn't say bad advice. I just don't think I had enough advice when I
I
was
get you.
coming up.
Hmm.
And like I was a pretty good student, and I was like, JUCO, like I'm smarter than that. Like
Right.
I don't want to go to JUCO for 2 years, and when I can go to this 4 year school. And like I tell this story because like I want, and kids today still don't really understand what it takes. Like they know they want to go to Vandy, they know they want to go to Stanford, but they don't necessarily know how good you have to be to get there.
Right.
Like I was so like disoriented with how the process works that I thought that I was going to stroll into NAIA FPU, and I was going to play right away,
Right.
and I was going to play so well that Fresno State was going to see me, and I was going to transfer to Fresno State and play D1 baseball. Like I had no idea that that's not how the process worked.
Mm.
Like no idea. And so I get to FPU, and we've got D1 kickbacks, and we've got 21, 22-year-old transfers, and I'm this like 18-year-old, well 17 when I got there, but 18-year-old punk that like didn't
Mm.
sniff the weight room and like thought I was really good at baseball. And like I found out real quick that I wasn't.
Right.
and and even at the NAIA level, like it's really helped my coaching going through that, because I don't have a playing career really to fall back on in terms of like, oh, look what I did.
Right. Right.
I hit 138 in 3 years of NAIA baseball. Like I was, as the kids say now, I was buns. So like it definitely helped me kind of understand how to like train our players.
Hmm.
Like our freshmen and sophomores in high school are far better than I ever was,
Okay.
just because we train them to be so.
Correct.
And so like I think like I've long made peace with the issues I had in my college career. High school I was okay. I hit 330 both years. Like I was fine. Um, College I was rough, and I learned a lot about like watching the guys that did move on from where we went to school and played some pro ball, and how they went
Hmm.
about their business. It just really kind of gave me the pathway that I wanted to coach our guys on,
Hmm.
to not make the same mistakes that I made when I was playing.
I get it. I get it. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, John, that's pretty good based on what you said because a lot of kids and adults, parents don't realize that what it takes. You said that like two or three times. People don't know what it takes to get to that D1 or top five baseball school. They think it's just, okay, I'm committed, I play, and that's the way it goes. And you said it so good. You said, well, you don't know the work that it takes. And not just make the team, John, but stay on the team because they
Hmm.
don't realize you get cut. You get cut after that first fall because then they got to trim the roster. And, I said that because you said something that most people don't talk about. They don't talk about that. Yeah, it's good. You see all these guys on Instagram and they got all these, they're flashing their, oh, I'm committed. I'm committed. I'm like, son, yeah, but there's 20 other guys
Yeah,
that are just as good as you.
yeah.
And that's the part we don't talk about. But you said it's so good about 2-5 baseball. I'll never forget that name. 2-5 baseball and how you train them. And I like your story. I like your story. I can appreciate your story. I really like yours sincerely and genuinely because I got a similar story. I do have some stats, but I didn't play high school baseball
Hmm.
because of my grades. So I had to go to JUCO. And I was on probation at a JUCO. On probation at a JUCO. So it's interesting how you said that. I know I'm kind of jumping around because I'm so excited. You said some other great things. You talked about how you train your players or you're training the kids because you didn't have those stats, those really good stats, but you had an opportunity to play. I mean, you play. You can't take that away from yourself. So kudos for that. My question to you is this: how do you train these kids? Because based on your history, let's get into that a little bit.
So like we've kind of got a like kind of piggybacking off of not knowing what it takes, like one of the mottos we have in the facility is it takes what it takes. Uh, you know, one of the like I think the biggest kind of thing that we have going for us in terms of getting players and retaining players is the players know that I care. At the
Mm,
end of the day, like I want every player, whether it's a rec ball kid that's coming in at 9 years old to like a pro guy who's trying to save his career.
I
Like
got you.
I want them all to play big league baseball. Like that would be great for all of them. I know full well that like 1% of guys make it,
Correct.
and we got first rounders that we train that have made it as high as AAA and haven't been able to crack it. So like we've the kids know that I care, and so that allows me to be hard on them.
Correct.
And that's like at the 10, 11, 12-year old level all the way up. Like I'll tell kids when they come into the building, like when they come in for their assessment, I'll be like, hey, like you're gonna want to fight me in here at some point. Like you're gonna want to physically like pull me out from behind the L screen and fight me. Like, but that's the way baseball is. And when I trained in college, like I didn't want to hit the curveball machine. I didn't want to hit the velo machine. I didn't
Mm,
want to do the hard things. I would walk into at bats knowing that that pitcher was better than me. And so what we've kind of adopted in our program is we give guys the same philosophy from 8 9U all the way up to our pro guys. Obviously, the delivery is going to be a little bit different
mhm.
to meet them where they're at their age level, but generally, like our philosophy is hit the ball hard, and the rest will figure itself out.
Mm,
I was talking to one of our kids the other day about Tony Gwynn's philosophy of trying to take his season into 10 at bats at a time and hit 7 balls hard.
mhm.
And he knew that if he hit 7 balls hard, he was going to get 3.5 hits, and he hit 338 or 340 or whatever he hit
That's
for his
right.
career. So,
That's right.
dude was pretty dang close to right.
Hmm.
And so like we can't control the fielders, we can't control like the umpires, we can't control any of that stuff. All we can control is the preparation that we do in the facility and how that prepares them to go out on the field and slow the game down.
That's right.
We try to make the practice harder than the game. If you're coming in like this week, we made it a little bit easier. Kids are getting ready to play out here, so like
Correct.
our high school kids were like, "Hey, we're
Right.
gonna have a feel good day today. I want you guys to let it eat a little bit.
Right.
Stay within yourself, but
Right.
let it eat a little bit and feel good because you guys are rolling into those games. And we've been grinding all
Hmm.
fall, all winter for you guys to go and be prepared for these games.
Correct.
Um, so I mean, we put guys on the machine at plus velo at 11, 12, 13 years old. Uh, because we want them to go out to the field, and it doesn't matter at 13 years old if that pitcher's 6 feet tall and throws cheese. Like he don't throw harder than our machine.
That's right.
I promise you that.
I can
And
guarantee you that.
so like we've kind of instilled that in our guys that like we want them to walk out on the field knowing that nothing they're going to see out there is anything we haven't done in the facility.
I like that, John. John, I like that, bro. That's very good information. You talked about you're gonna, as a coach, you're gonna hate me, you're gonna love me, I'm gonna push you, I'm gonna make you do things. I'm paraphrasing what you just said.
Hmm.
My question to you is this: is so what is too much for a youth guy? Now we're not talking about guys that are like, 18, 19, 15, 14. The youth guys. So what is too much for youth?
In terms of like how hard we push
Training.
them.
Correct. Correct.
Um, I like as with anything in hitting, it depends. Like it depends on the guy. We gotta meet each guy where we're at. I mean,
Okay.
like we've trained guys that are autistic. We've trained guys that have like severe ADHD. We train guys that are like childhood prodigies that come in and hit with our high school guys at 8 years old that just like get in there and have no fear and they let it eat.
Hmm.
Like each guy's going to be a little bit different, and the
Right.
biggest thing for us is to try to meet them at the place that they're at, get them to understand where they want to go and what it takes to get there,
Hmm.
and then walk that line of
Right.
the intensity level
I got you.
of what we're trying to do.
I got it. I like that. I like that. So my next question is this: when you're that young, what's the youngest guy you ever trained, John? What's the youngest guy you ever trained?
I mean, the youngest guy I've ever trained is 6.
Okay,
We
6
had a
years
kid
old.
last fall that was 7. That was like one of those kind of child prodigy type guys that just came in and raked right off the bat. But like generally, like my training starts at like 8 or 9.
Okay, okay, I get it. I get what you're saying. So my question to you, so I know that you have to have a vision. You have to know where you're going to get to the end zone, or the promise. You can't just run out and run. You know, people without a vision, they perish. You got to have a vision. You got to know, write the vision, make it plain. So my question to you is this: when you're young, do you kind of give them a vision, or how do you mold them to get to that ultimate goal?
I would say it kind of again, it depends on the guy. It depends on what it is they want to do. Because we've got guys at 8, 9, 10 years old that are straight baseball,
Okay.
and like the that's a whole other rabbit hole that we could spend a whole hour talking about. For
Yes.
me, like I walk the line of like decide what you want to be good at, because I think one of the things that parents do now, that especially in America and in our area in particular, I don't know how it is in other
California.
areas, but like we want our kids to be part of everything, but then they end up not really good at anything.
Mm.
And it's like we'll get guys in the fall where it's like, okay, I'm going from soccer practice to flag football practice, and then I have travel baseball on the weekend, but I don't like I'm trying to fit in my hitting training, and I'm trying to fit in all this stuff, but like I'm gonna go do all these other things. And it's like, yeah, great, like play multiple sports, do different things, like be an athlete. Like
Right.
I'll tell kids all the time, be an athlete.
Okay.
And part of that is playing other sports and learning what being an athlete means.
Correct.
But at the same time, like when we have them in all these organized sports that
Okay.
are regimented and time specific, like then they end up not really good at anything.
I got you.
And it's like we like everybody always argues, well, you know, the kids in the Dominican, they start at 8, 9 years old, and all they do is play baseball, and they turn out just fine. Like
That's
to a
true.
certain extent, yeah.
That's
Like
true.
you can definitely specialize if you love the game that much. That's a different type of love, because that's a love to get off the island and make a better life for your family.
That's right.
We
That's right.
train a lot of affluent kids that like their college is already paid for, so they don't. I mean,
Right.
it's not that they don't care. It's just that they have a plan B. Dominican kids
Mm.
don't have a plan B. They got plan A and plan A only, and that's to swing their way off the island.
I got you, brother. I like it.
Like our kids, like, well, you know, like if I don't end up playing baseball in college, then I'll just become a CPA like my dad. Like it's and they'll make tons of money and be fine. Like
Hmm.
there's a certain like special, and that's why the baseball players are 1%. Like 1% of baseball players make it to the big leagues,
Yeah.
and it's like those are the guys that like that's their only plan.
Yeah.
Like there is no plan B.
Right.
And so like we try to like obviously navigate that gentle with the younger guys, because like they are trying to figure out what it is that they love.
Right. Right.
But the high school guys, like one of the biggest things, like we're gonna get it printed on our wall at some point, is like the only excuse that's not acceptable in our building is I don't have time. Like you can literally tell me anything else about not getting your hitting work in or not getting your throwing work in or whatever, other than I don't have time.
I got you. I got you.
Because if I pull up your phone right now and I look at your screen time and it says 3, 4, 5 hours, and I'm guilty of it too,
Hmm.
but that means you have time.
Right. Right. Right.
You're just not using it right.
That's right. And it's interesting you said that because we're older now, and you're talking about time, and it's something I've learned as we get older. And time is a friend or enemy. And also, I've learned this based on what you just said. What's important to you, you make time. I'm gonna say that again.
100%.
I'm gonna say this again for the listeners. What is important to you, you will make time for it. For example, I mean, we can talk about this. Just say you want to go on a date, and you figure it out. Well, this girl is nice. She's good looking. Da 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 da. And I just want to meet her. Just to talk to her. But I got to go to baseball practice. I got to train. I got to study. Somehow you figure it out. It's the same thing. What's important, you do make time, and it can be an enemy or It can be a friend, which leads me to that next question, John. I mean, I like your humble beginnings. You said you was running a batting cage, and you talk about, how has that helped you become a better coach from your humble beginnings, that you can relate that to today's kids.
I mean, it kind of just goes back to understanding what it takes, and really as a business owner, like it really that we had a rough first year, like trying to keep the thing afloat. Right now we're busier than we've ever been, so that's a blessing, and we're thankful for that. But it's trying to block out all of the other distractions, like
Mm,
the first year of the building, like this time last year, like I'm staring at the wall trying to figure out how we're gonna make rent. Like couldn't figure it out. And I know these kids are in like walking the same path with all the garbage that like is going on at school, and like
right.
kids are great, but like there's also a lot of punks out there, and
Yeah.
like you have to navigate that, and like so here I am like trying to run a business and run the business side of like making sure this facility that we open stays afloat and I don't lose everything because that's all I got.
Right.
And then I got to go from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock and go coach hitters like I don't have any other drama going on. And and it's relatable for these kids because like they've all got drama. They've got girlfriends and somebody bullying them at school, or like their parents are fighting, or like what like there's tons of things going on. And so like we've just got to make sure that like when the lights come on, it's go time, and we kind of tell those kids like, hey, like I respect what happens outside these doors, but when you come inside these doors, this is an opportunity for you to let go, for you to release whatever it is that you're dealing with outside these walls, and come in and get your work in, and find a place that you can do something that you love.
Right. Right.
And I think the more that we can like instill that in them, that when you're on the baseball field, when you're between the lines, when you're in our facility walls, like that's a safe place for you, and that's a place where you can go and be yourself. And
Right.
then there's all the drama of, well, I got to perform.
Correct.
At the end of the day, like, yeah, you got to perform, but like go have fun,
Right.
and you're going to perform a lot more when you have fun.
That's right.
and,
That's
and that's the same thing in the facility. Is like, yes, we challenge them, but we want them to have fun too. We're going to celebrate their successes. We're going to celebrate their personal records. We're going to do the social media stuff when guys set records in the facility. We're going to do all that stuff because they've earned it.
I got you. That makes sense. I mean, but I'm gonna go ahead and ask something else. What you just said, basically, stay ready and be ready.
Hmm.
There's a difference between staying ready. Staying ready means go to your facility and train. That's staying ready. But be ready is when you're sitting on the bench and you're not starting, and the coach says, "Hey, get a bat." That's when you need to be ready. You're ready
You need to
once
be ready.
you got to be ready. So I mean, I said that because a lot of times, I coach high school baseball as well here in South Florida, and some guys, well, I'm not in the lineup today, so I don't care. I'm like, hold up, time out. we don't, I know I didn't just hear this. You're gonna see me after the game, and you will never say that again. And I said that because you're training these kids and you're modeling them. Other words, you're training them, but you're modeling by example for what you did in your life and the things you weren't able to do, but you did do, but not at the level you want to do. So now it's that passion that you have that you're bringing out to the kids. Like, listen, hey, when you're in here, basically you're telling them this: I'm the boss. I'm
Hmm.
the boss. I run this show. When you get out of here, it's a different story. And that's the same thing, how kids respect you for who you are, because you talked about this. You talked about you care. That's the first thing you said at the beginning of the episode. You talked about I care. And I know from business, because I have my own business as well. When you want to get clients, the best way to get clients is build a relationship with them and show them that you care. That's the best way. Don't You can market them all you want, because everybody's marketing and marketing. But if you go out of your way and you spend time with them, and they know that you're genuine, you care, it's gonna happen. Just a matter of when, not if. So I'm just saying that because people says, well, no, no, it's gonna happen. I mean, but if you have passion, it will show. Eventually, it's gonna show. Like John, when we first started the show, I was, I'm passionate. I'm
Hmm.
passionate, and I'm a Giants fan too. So when you said Barry Bonds, I just lost, I just couldn't help it,
Right.
because as a kid, that's the guy that I try to model my game from.
Hmm.
Now, I'm not saying I was as good as him, but when he had number 24, I wore 24.
Hmm.
So everything I have is 24, even though he's 25 now. But I'm just saying when he first started, he's
Right.
evolving. And then another guy from your area as well I like was Ricky Henderson. He was a
Hmm.
24. So that tells you I was an outfielder. So I kind of modeled my game from those guys. That's why I wanted to throw that out there. But, you know, you actually had a little sneak preview, coming attraction of coaching. Let's talk a little bit about your coaching coming from college. How was that transition? How did that transition help you mold you to be a businessman today?
So like the the crazy part is like I won't say I'm anti-college.
I got you.
I would say that I am a believer that like you have to get it right the first time
Okay.
in terms of college.
Okay.
Like I was a business major in college and a coaching minor. Coaching minor, great stuff, like a little bit more technical than like it really needed to be. The business stuff taught me how to work for the man, not be the man.
I got you.
I know
I
some
got you.
schools have like an entrepreneurship major. Ours did not.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of in management and organizational studies, and
Me
it
too.
like people ask me like, hey, like what do you like? How much of your college education do you use? I'm like, none of it.
None of
I
it.
mean, like I had one teacher that was kind of cool that like we had a finance class and he was like, hey, I could make you learn all this stuff, but Excel does it for you, so I'm just going to spend the semester teaching you how to use Excel correctly. And I was like, okay, that's sick. That's real world. Like we can use that. We can work with that. Like when am I ever gonna like need pre-calculus again? Like
Right.
I
Right.
don't.
Right. Right.
Like I'm not doing that stuff. So like I would say in terms of school, it was like obviously learning from my experiences of like time management, having class, like you were talking about like trying to find time to take a girl on a date. The best semester that I had in college, academically and really athletically, was the last fall that I played.
Mm.
Um, I hit really well in the fall. I had however many units I had in the fall. I had like a 3.4, which was my highest GPA in college, and I
Okay.
had a girlfriend that lived in a town 20 minutes away that I was trying to find time for. So
Mm.
like there you can use those things as an excuse, or you can use them as like, okay, I got to make sure all this stuff is taken care of so then
Right.
I can go do the things that I want to do.
All right. That's right.
And to an extent with the like moving into a business, like it's very much the same. Like I got to make sure all the business stuff is taken care of, like all the like the dirty work, the stuff I don't want to do, is taken care of so that the business shines when the lights come on and people start coming in. So
That's right. 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 I mean, because you said some very interesting things. I want to go ahead and send out. As every time I have my show, John, I always give out a uh, a little nugget about history. I'll talk about baseball history, and this is called the true triple play. This time you kind of, it's like the seventh inning stretch. And you don't have to say anything. It's just some nuggets of, because a lot of guys, which this, a lot of guys, not all, but a lot of guys don't know anything about baseball history. They just know about today. Like they know about the Otanis, the Mike Trouts. They know about all the studs. Altuve, all the good guys. I'm not saying that, no disrespect to them, but before there was them, there was other people that we don't even talk about. And this is called the true triple play. That means I'm gonna give you his name and give you three truths about him. His name was Ray Dandrick. He was born August 31st, 1913. He died February 12th, 1994. They call him Hooks and Squat. He was a third baseman for the Negro League Baseball. He excelled at third base. He had a high batting average. On top of that, by the time Major League Baseball had racial integration, he was considered to be too old. So he was too old by the time it was time. He was kind of like a little bit older than Satchel Paige, I would guess.
Hmm.
Because Satchel Paige was a stud. He was just and we don't even know what his real age was, John.
Yeah.
We don't know what his real age was, but he died in like I said, February 12th at the age of 80. He also in 1933 he was with the Indianapolis ABCs and the Detroit Stars. He also had a batting average of 319, 4 home runs, 146 RBIs, and he was a three-time All-Star. He was also they called this back in the day the American Association, and that was in 1950. He was an MVP, and he also, I appreciate this, he was inducted to the Mexican Baseball Hall of Fame in 1989. And the reason I said it because my wife is Mexican and I have family that's Latino, so that's an appreciation. That's a true triple play. I always try to throw that out there for the people that are
Love it.
listening. Yeah, they just need to know appreciation of history. And they can. I try to go back and be more informative so people can know. And that's something I want to give you. But Coach, I keep calling you Coach. I like calling you Coach John. Coach John, I got a question for you. If you had to have a Mount Everest, who would be your 4 or 5 guys to be on your Mount Everest and why? Players of all time.
Players. So
Of
obviously
all
we got to
time.
go. We got to go Barry right in the middle. Um, I'm gonna go
Yeah.
like. So you want four? Is it four or
Yes.
five?
I think it's 4, but you can give me 5. You can get an honorable mention.
All right. We're gonna give you Barry Bonds. We're gonna give you Willie Mays. We got to
Willie
go with the two
Mays.
Giants.
Okay.
Um, we're gonna go Ken Griffey Jr.
Okay. Ken
Um,
Griffey.
I mean, it was kind of like it's kind of like in basketball. Like I was a Kings fan back in the day, like when
Oh
they
yeah.
should have beat the Lakers and whatever.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
I
like
remember.
it's like if you like the Kings, you couldn't
Like
like
the Lakers.
the Lakers. It's like if you're a Barry Bonds guy, then like you can't necessarily be like because they were like the two. But like I'll take
That's
Ken
true.
Griffey Jr. Um, and then like it hurts me to say this because I'm a Giants guy, but like
Who's that?
you got to probably go with Otani. Like that's
Oh.
the best. That's
Oh.
the best baseball player of our generation.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
you're right. You're right.
full package baseball player of our generation. Like
That's
I
true.
wish the Giants could have signed him,
Oh, man. You right
um,
about that, boy.
but nobody wants to
Man.
play in San Francisco, and that's fine.
That's right. Yeah, you're
But
right. That's good. I mean, John, that's a great list. Ken Griffey, Willie Mays, Barry Bonds, and Otani. I mean, but we got to be honest. I'm a Giants fan too, diehard Giants fan, and I've interviewed some guys that are Dodgers, play with the Dodgers and coach for the Dodgers.
mhm,
I have to say this: I have to respect them because they're winners.
yeah,
Doesn't mean I have to be a fan of the organization, but I respect the organization because
100%.
they know how to make things work,
Hmm.
and they're not afraid to spend money. They're not afraid to spend money, and we're not going to talk about our Giants, but I'm hoping and praying that they turn it around a little bit. But that's another session for another
Yeah,
day.
yep.
But at least I know somebody in California besides me that is a San Francisco fan and a
And
Barry
like
Bonds
I
fan.
look at it like the kids all give me a hard time now, and I'm just like, hey, like I was blessed to see 3 and 5 years. Like if I don't see another one in my life,
It's okay.
like we saw 3 in 5 years. We'll take that. I mean, 2002, that one was a heartbreaker.
Hmm.
So I'm glad that I at least got to see 3 in 5 years. That was a great run for the Giants. Like,
Yeah.
who knows what happens from here? But like, all I know is they got to start spending some money. Like, because
Yeah.
the Dodgers are getting everybody, and they're going to be spending money for the next 15, 20
Can
years on
yeah.
guys that are playing for the next five. So
Right. 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 Right.
there's going to be a window of opportunity there coming up that we gotta make sure we're ready to go.
I like it, John. John, I like it. I really do like what you're saying. I mean, that's just great because we need to spend some money. And don't be fair. Don't be fair of the tax. We don't want to care about tax. We want to care
Yeah,
about winning. Whatever we got to do, we do. And but California's a big state. There's plenty of money around there. Just don't be afraid to take a chance. And go from there. But John, this has been a great opportunity. I want to ask you a few more questions that I wanted to get into the hitting. your facility. Let's talk a little bit more about your facility, and what are some of the things which you talked about earlier. You talked about hitting, but can you kind of break down for the listeners that don't know you and might want to check out your business? Because I think you do some online stuff as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, we
So
do.
let's talk about that. When you say hitting, what are you specializing, and what makes you different from everyone else?
So for me, like the difference is going to be the attention to detail that I give. I think there's a lot of, especially now in this age of remote training and people selling remote training and people selling how to teach you how to do remote training, and like it's almost turned into a big like pyramid scheme of like influencers on social media.
Correct.
And like what you're going to get from us is we're going to show our work. Um, we're going to kind of meet you where you're at. Like in our facility, we kind of like we have a little bit more tech than most of the facilities in our area, and we use it in a different way than a lot of people use it.
Okay.
Like we're big on video, we're big on breaking it down, and my thing is like my job is for you to get it right and for you to understand it. And I think where a lot of people or a lot of like online, both online trainers and in-person trainers, it's like we have a move or a philosophy that we stick to, and if and it gives people it gives coaches a fallback plan, where it's like, well, if this guy didn't hit, he must have not have done the move right,
Mm,
or if this guy doesn't hit, he must not have done the like he must not have the right approach.
okay.
Like, no, we got to figure out how to get them to hit. And for me, like I always look back to like the like I don't have a playing career to fall back on. And you've got guys doing training both in person or remote that were great baseball players or have a like long coaching background. Like I hit 138 in the NAIA, but we've put out 20 all league guys in the last 2 years. Like it's what are we doing now? How do we get that number to 20 in 1 year? Because we want all our guys to be successful, and so like we're gonna make sure you get it, and getting it is whatever getting it looks like to you. It's
Okay.
not gonna be like you've got to snap your barrel backwards and like control everything a certain way, or like you've got a scissor kick. You like there's no like
One
we
size
use a
fits
little
all.
bit of everything.
I
We use
got
a
you.
little bit of everything. It's like the Barry Bonds drill that Christian Yelich talks about, like hitting the ball off the plate. Like we like to hit the ball in the air in our facility. However, like if we've got a guy that like keeps getting under the ball and hitting, like we have a high school kid that like has big exit velos, like carries 90 degrees over or 90 miles an hour over 50 degrees in the air. Like big juice, but needs to get behind the ball more. So we break the Barry Bonds drill out and have him start hitting the ball on the ground and work himself back up. Like there's no one way to get it done. And I think in terms of like our remote training, like we have one kid right now that made varsity as a freshman, um, and he had a great debut. And then the next 4 games, he had a rough 4 games, and it's like we're on the phone the next day, like, hey, how do we right the ship? So you're gonna get a lot of attention from me, um, because like it always goes back to kind of the humble beginnings we talked about, where like I know struggle. Um, I've I've been without a home at points in my life, um, and I know that at the end of the day, like my job depends on whether our hitters hit or not.
Mm,
Like people are not going to pay me to come in and train if their kids don't hit. They're not
right.
paying me out of the goodness of their heart.
Right.
And I have this argument with coaches all the time where it's like it may be a high school coach, and no disrespect to high school coach, I think they're grossly underpaid. But at the end of the day, like sometimes when the egos get involved and they're like, oh well, you just do it for the money and you do it for this and do it for that. It's like okay, like high X like whatever high school coach, like if you don't win,
Right.
you may lose your high school coaching job,
Hmm.
but you're still probably going to have your career as a teacher
Correct.
or whatever else it is you're
Correct.
doing.
Correct.
right? So you're losing your like a portion of your pay.
Correct.
If my kids don't hit, I lose everything.
Correct.
And so that's how I take it into every day, whether it's a remote training client, whether it's an 8-year-old playing rec ball, whether it's a pro guy whose career depends on whether I'm good at my job or not. Like if my players don't play,
Right.
I lose everything.
I got you.
And when I keep that focus on it, it allows the passion to come out. It allows like me to really dive into our players on where they're at, and to make sure that we leave no stone unturned in terms of like how do we get you to accomplish the goals that you want to accomplish, and get to where you want to get to.
I got you.
And that's really our deep down philosophy at the end of the day is like there's no one way to hit, but if you don't hit, I don't eat. So we got to get everybody to eat.
I like it. I like it, John. That's good. That's good. That's good stuff, man. Because you know as well as I know, I know quite a few big hitting facilities right now. I'm not going to say their names. I know two right now. You probably know them as well and heard of them. And they always talk about one way to hit, and they're talking about launch angle all the time. Doesn't matter if you can't hit the ball. Doesn't matter what position you play. Doesn't matter anything. He's teaching everybody that walks in the building launch angle. Everybody. Doesn't matter. It's only one way to do hitting. And it's interesting you said that because I think of a couple guys that I know personally, like personally, Manny Ramirez. He's a very good friend of mine. I coached his son in high school a couple of years ago, and he came in and we talked. And we had a very good conversation. To this day, we chat, and he talks about hitting totally different than just launch angle.
Hmm.
Totally different. And then, there's another guy that I like and you like, Mr. 25. I really, when I'm teaching my kids, just teaching them, what does he say? What does he say? Because
Hmm.
what I do is I'm repeating the same thing. It's just I'm putting my little spin on it. It's
Right.
just putting my charisma on it. And I'm saying that because, we never heard of launch angle when we were playing.
Right.
I didn't hear anything. I've never heard of launch angle in my life. Like launch angle. Okay, let's talk about Ken Griffey. We talked about Ken Griffey. Um, does he have launch angle? Yeah, a little bit. But also he's a gift. He can swing. Let's talk about Barry. Does he have launch angle? Mm, I would say 50-50. It depends, but he's not focused on, like you said, one size fits all. And that's
Right.
what I wanted to say because a lot of guys think that. I mean, the reason I'm saying this because I have a kid that I worked with, and he was 5'3", and he can run, middle infielder. He's playing D1 ball now. I trained him. I just stopped training him when it comes to hit. I just train him for speed and agility because those are my two things I do: hitting and speed and agility. And he stopped running, John. He just don't run anymore. He got bigger. He don't want to run no more. He's still
Mhm.
bases in the whole 9 yards. Middle infielder. Come on, middle infielder, yeah.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden he went to this place. I won't say the name because if I say the name, you'll know it.
Oh yeah.
And he's like hitting a few home runs. Oh, he's feeling himself. I'm like, dude, how fast are you? Well, I run a 6'8". Well, okay, you're a middle infielder, right? Yeah. Why are you trying to hit home runs all the time? So anyway, I said that because I know kids are listening to this and they're going to talk about, launch angle. I'm not against launch angle, and you're not either. But the key word that you said was it's not one size, basically not one size fits all.
Yeah, for sure. Like that's and we've kind of like so we have hit tracks in our facility, and we started out with Rapsodo before that.
Hmm.
And like we've done things in the past where like we've celebrated like the amount of home runs that our kids hit and things like that. And so we've kind of developed this like stigma of being the launch angle facility in our area, which like launch angle is nothing more than what happens to the ball when it comes off the bat.
Correct. Correct.
Attack angle, that's a different conversation. Like, and that's another one we could do a whole hour of podcast on what attack angle means and what we're trying to do with it. But like, long story short is like, I'm not taking a kid that's 5'5" that runs well and trying to get them to hit the ball at 30 degrees.
Right.
Like
Right.
half of our kids have not even ever heard me say the word launch angle in our facility. But I'm the launch angle guy, and they'll go to practice, and their coach will be like, "Oh, well, I know he's teaching you that launch angle stuff, but you need to do this, this, and this." Now we're teaching them to hit the ball hard and on the line somewhere. Like a
I like
line
it.
drive, a line drive is not on the ground. Like
No, it's not.
that's like really the extent that we talk about it is like,
I
hey,
like it.
hit the ball hard somewhere. If you can't hit it over somebody, hit it through somebody.
That's right.
If your max exit velo is 85 or lower, I'm
Hmm.
not teaching you to hit a ball over an outfielder's head because you can't do it yet.
Thank you. Thank you.
But I'm going to teach you how to hit it over the second baseman's head and the shortstop's head over and over again.
Right. Right.
And so like it's the whole launch angle concept. Like if you like go on my Twitter and or X or whatever they call it now, like and you go back and look at like the progression of how we talk about ball flight.
Hmm.
Like I would prefer to just call it ball flight
Oh yeah, that
because
sounds better. That sounds better.
launch angle, and it's like you listen on TV and you get these guys that are like, oh well, he's launch angle swinging or this or that the other. It's like no, like we're not teaching that. Like at least I'm not. I want to meet the guy that is like, hey, you've got to hit it 25 to 30-degree launch angle and hit. Like I'm not that guy. And so like we're gonna take each guy where they're at. Like we've got a kid right now that runs a 6.5 60, but also hits the ball over 100 miles an hour.
Hmm.
Like that's a gifted athlete.
Right. Right.
Can he hit the like as a freshman last year? He hit a ball dead center off the wall, 400 feet. Like the guy's got some juice.
Right.
But if he puts a drag bunt down a game, he's probably hitting 450. If he puts a
Exactly.
drag bunt down in his first at bat, he's 1 for 1, and then he can let it eat the rest of the game.
That's right.
And
That's
so
right.
like we've kind of implemented some of that. Like I used to be the whole like I had the never bunt T-shirt for a while that I would rock in the facility,
Really.
and then like
Okay.
as we grow though, like
Right.
we started doing execution rounds in the facility when we're on machine, and we're doing execution rounds for high school kids at 75, 80, 85 miles an hour. Like so if you're going to get a hit and run down, get a hit and run down against game speed. Don't get a hit and run down when I'm lollipopping it in there.
That's right.
And so like and that includes like the end of our execution round is a drag bunt.
Right.
Like if you have wheels,
Use it.
you need to know how to drag bunt.
That's it.
Like if you try to sack bunt in my facility, I'm probably kicking you out. But the drag, like the pressure bunt, is huge. Be able to drag, be able to push, be able to like take that opportunity. If you're the 5 hitter and you're leading off the inning, and you have a little bit of speed, like yeah, your power plays
Correct.
there, like but your power plays at 1 to 0.
Correct.
Now you get on base, the guy behind you knocks you in, and then you
Right.
got another guy on base. Now we're starting the rally.
Right.
So
Right.
like
Right.
we want our kids to understand what their skill set is,
Hmm.
and then operate within that skill set.
Hmm.
And then it just comes down to being able to make one pitch adjustments.
Yeah.
Like we had a kid like one of those 5'6" little guys that runs well. Like he had a inner squad where he hit like 3 pop-ups. And the coach starts in about, oh well, launch angle, whatever. And he comes into me and he's trying to tell me that, and I'm like, okay, so what adjustment did you make? He's like,
Right.
well, I didn't. I'm like, well, then that's the problem. It's not the launch angle. It's not anything that I'm teaching you. It's I've taught you to make a one pitch adjustment. If you're early and popping everything up, hit one in the first base dugout next at bat. Like be that late. Make big adjustments. Like we're big on big adjustments. Like we'll do things and kids will look at me funny. This is my favorite thing to do with hitters. We did it with pro guys, and I thought they were going to walk out of the building when I told them to do this. You get a guy that's missing, and then typically this is like the machine, where it's got a little bit more ride to it. But you'll get a guy that's missing under, like
Okay.
fouling balls off, missing under, popping them up.
Hmm.
I'll tell them, I want you to swing and miss above. Like I want you to swing and miss,
Okay.
and they'll go and they'll foul off the first one, and I'm like, no, that's not what I want. I want you to swing and miss above the ball. And they look at me like I'm like high as a kite because I'm like as hitters we're trained in like that missing is bad.
Right.
Missing the same way is bad. Missing differently, now you're making adjustments. And so, like, I'll never forget the first time I did this. There was a bunch of pro guys in the building. I was like, hey, miss above. And the guy misses above. And then I want to say he hit the, like, hardest piss missile line drive on the next pitch that he had hit all offseason. And he looked at me, he's like, okay, well, why? Like, why does that work? And I'm like, because you're now taking the pass and fail off of contact. Because you were making contact.
Right.
You were just making bad contact.
I get you.
We take the pass and fail off of making contact, and we put it on taking our barrel exactly where we want to take it. You have to miss above. If you can take away the pass and fail of contact and take your barrel where you want to take it and miss above, then you just got to take it to the back of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all we're doing.
I got you.
And we do that with kids all the way down to like 8, 9, 10 years old, and like every single one of them, the first time I ask them to do it, they look at me like I'm like speaking Chinese. And then they do it, and then they like, it's like a 95% success rate that the next pitch they swing at, they barrel up.
I like that.
And it's just like you've got to make big adjustments. Whatever you're doing that's not working, do the opposite, and then work back to the middle. Because we could spend 10, 15 pitches fouling balls back, trying to make the little adjustment to get behind it. You just took 2 pitches, and now you're back behind the ball.
I like it. I like it, John. Hey, you get all this information, so can you give out your social media channels so people can reach out to you?
Yeah, we make it pretty easy. Instagram, X, TikTok, we're all at 25 Baseball. The words 25 Baseball, TWOFIVE Baseball. And then our website is 25baseball.com or trainwith25.com if you are looking to get some more information on training.
I think that's pretty cool, man. Thank you, man. This has been a great episode. Very detailed, very open. I like a lot of stuff you said. You said it's not one size fits all. I've been saying that for years. I've been saying it forever, but it seems like I'm like the only one on this island. No, coach, you don't know what you're talking about. I said, all right. I said, okay, whatever. Well, this guy over here, such and such, I won't say his name. I don't even want to say that company. Well, he says it's only one way. And I'm sitting there scratching my head like, wait a minute. Are you serious? Do you really believe that? You really believe it's only one way to hit a ball? And I say all the time, every swing has to be a hard swing. Every swing is a hard swing. And if you don't give me a hard swing, put the bat down. Just put the bat down because we're wasting time. I mean, I understand we go through, batting practice, but there's something that Mr. 25 says that I totally firmly agree with. You only have one pitch, not 3 pitches. You got one pitch. You don't have 3 pitches. You have one pitch. I'm going to keep saying that. You have one. Coach, it's 3 strikes. No, you got one. You take that one pitch and master the one pitch. So I had to throw that out there. Mr. 25 talks about that so much. But before we close out, I want to ask you this one last question. It's a closing. It's called post game. At every game, the coach talks to the players and ask them how we did and go over. Now, this is a post-game question. My question for you is this. We all know that baseball has either 9 innings or 7 innings. I know you're getting ready to close out, but
Little one.
I got one. The question is this. If you have one coach or one person you can talk to, who would that person be, dead or alive, and what would you say to him and why?
One coach like in my past or just
in the future, like to make you better, a better coach, better instructor? Who would that person be? It can be a pro baseball player, whoever. Who would you talk to and why, and what would you say to him?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. Kind of put me on the spot there. I would. I'm gonna go. Dang, you're putting me on the spot here.
That's a good question.
That's a loaded question.
He said a loaded question.
To make me a better coach.
Yes. Who would you talk to? It can be dead or alive. It can be whoever. I don't know. It can be anybody. It can't be Barry Bonds. You already. I
would love to. But I would probably want to and this is an interesting and there's a reason for this. I would probably want to sit down with Tony Gwynn.
Tony Gwynn, okay.
Because so many people use Tony Gwynn as like, and rightfully so, best contact hitter of our generation.
Period.
I would want to dive deeper into some of the, like, the concept of the feel versus real, and what the swing looks like compared to what the drills are, compared to what he's thinking and feeling, and really try to dive into understanding, like, what goes through the mind of a guy that, like, barely ever strikes out,
Wow.
and how that relates to the swing that he's getting off, which is not entirely different than most other people's swings. He just was really good at putting it on the ball. So I would probably say Tony Gwynn.
Tony Gwynn. That's a great, great answer. I mean, and for the people that don't know who Tony Gwynn is, you must be dead up under a rock. You need to go do some research, because I know everybody doesn't do the research, bro. They just don't. They look at Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and that's it. Hey, man, it's been a blast from the past. I love it. It has been nothing but a blessing. You have been great, brother. I really appreciate your time and everything. This episode has been such a blessing. I mean, for a guy that started with humble beginnings, didn't play that much in college, not afraid to talk about it, and just grew like leaps and bounds, just taking over California. And also, he's a San Francisco Giant fan, so he's all right with me. He's okay with me. And he loves the guy I like as well, Mr. 25. Hey, but this is a question I'm closing out, and I want to say thank you again, man. But before I start, give out your information one more time for people can reach out to you one last time before I close out.
We are at 25 Baseball, TWOFIVE Baseball, on all social media, Instagram, X, TikTok. And then you can reach out with regards to training at trainwith25.com.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, John. I like calling you Coach John. I don't know why I keep calling you Coach John. Coach John, the guy that went to college and says the same thing I said. College it's good, but not for me. Yep. So, thank you, man. I appreciate it. It's been nothing but a blessing. 25 Baseball, Instagram, and also on X as well. It's Twitter. Hey, reach out. He is one of the best out there. And as he said before, it's not one size fits all to be a hitter. Thank you, Coach. I appreciate it. And the question I'm going to ask for all the listeners, thank you for listening in today to YouGoin Pro Podcast. I want to say thank you. But hey, the question is, I'm asking the listeners, where are you being led? We're all going somewhere. I always talk about where are you being led. In other words, where are you going, north, south, east, or west? You got to have a direction. Coach John is giving you so much great information. Do you have passion? Do you really want to train? Do you really want this? And why do you want it? That's the question. Why do you want this? Because as Coach John said, life is going to kick you in the butt. I'm basically paraphrasing. It's going to kick you in the butt. But my question to you is this. Have you listened to everything Coach John has said today? That's the question I'm asking. Now, this is my closing remark. Have you listened to Coach John? Now, there's no excuses, because you can also hit him up on all his social media channels. He's one of the best, and I say he's one of the best due to the fact that I like what he said. He said it's not one size fits all. And I can appreciate a man that knows what he's talking about. You don't have to have all the stats. You don't have to have all the trophies and the accolades to have wisdom and understand the game. God has given all of us a gift, and he has a gift. And one of his gifts is caring, and he has passion. So where are you being led? God gave us 2 ears. The L stands for listen. Listen to everything he said today. Listen. The next letter is E, is execute. So if you listen, because faith comes by hearing, not by speaking. Listen to what John said today. Execute what he said after you listen, and God will give you the opportunity to dominate in that field of hitting. This is Coach Laurie, very own Seville, but everybody calls me Coach Laurie. John Lampos, 25 Baseball. Check him out. I'm signing out. Hey, Coach, great being with you. Stay blessed. Don't stress. Love you, bro. Take care. Thanks, brother. Take care. Bye-bye.